Hey guys, Ron here, and welcome back to another installment of creating new Pokemon from fears. In this series, I've turned my own personal phobias into Pokemon, either as a way to understand my fears by triggering these phobias, as a form of exposure therapy, or as a way to overcome my fears by turning them into lovable monsters. I've also turned your fears into Pokemon, and today we'll continue with that concept, so make sure to click on the card at the top right corner to check out the previous fear videos if you haven't. But just to be safe, make sure you subscribe to know when a new Pokemon art video comes out. So the first fear is simply the fear of death. We haven't done that for some reason yet, even though it's the most common fear, I'd assume. But let's be more specific. I want to do a Pokemon that is based on disease. Since a Pokemon that represents death will probably be a ghost type, let's base it on some kind of extinct animal, preferably one that doesn't have a Pokemon counterpart. I've always wanted to see a thylacine or Tasmanian tiger Pokemon. Have you guys ever seen this guy? They were marsupials in Australia and Tasmania, and that became famous online for their huge mouth span. Like, look at that gape. It's scary. They went extinct in the 30s, and their closest relatives are the Tasmanian devil. They eat anything that is dead and decaying. And wouldn't you know, a majority of these guys were wiped out by a transmissible cancer that caused facial tumors. So how about we make a radioactive Tasmanian devil that contains poison gas, who evolves into a poison ghost Tasmanian tiger that releases this poison gas from its giant mouth. Instead of the disease causing these bumps on this Pokemon's face, its cheeks are just inflated with poison gas inside it. The family will represent the stages of a dead, decomposing body, by the Tasmanian devil Pokemon representing the bloating stage, and then the Tasmanian tiger Pokemon representing the decaying stage. This will also be a good connection since high radiation basically leads to unstable, decaying atoms. I want to start off by simply making a plain old Tasmanian devil in Pokemon style, but it was tough considering it's such a unique mammal that I rarely look at. If I added too many Tasmanian devil features, it would look like a normal Tasmanian devil, but if I added too few unique traits, it wouldn't look like a Tasmanian devil. I knew I wanted it to be rotund, but then it wouldn't look like a Tasmanian devil, so I just decided to commit to the round shape and make it an entire ball, since Pokemon rarely look exactly like the obscure animal that they're based on. Originally, I wanted to make it float a little bit, but that made it look a little silly, so I planted him on the ground and gave him an entire planet for a stomach. Now it's beginning to look like an original concept, and not just a Tasmanian devil. I mean, it intentionally looks like a bomb with a tail that looks like a wick. This thing is basically a nuclear bomb. I gave it gas-inflated cheeks. The question was whether or not to make them cheek pouches like Pikachu, or simply puffed up cheeks. I went with the latter and gave them these stripes right on the cheeks, since I know that the evolved form will have stripes as well. I was giving it the signature chest stripe that Tasmanian devils have, but notice that if I made it vertical instead of horizontal, along with the cheek stripes and round nose, it looks like this Pokemon bears the radiation sign. You know, the one with a circle in the middle and 3 lines. It looked natural and made sense. I gave it eyes akin to the Rinnegan to make it look dangerous and otherworldly. Originally I was going to make it sickly green, but decided to make it more radioactive green. Instead of a classic purple poison type, this thing is radioactive and glowing. Works well with the magenta. Here is Decaypex, the decaying Pokemon. This Pokemon has a radioactive core that is on the brink of collapse. It fills Decaypex with deadly gas that gets released from its mouth. This gas is able to penetrate anything. Its body is covered in a layer of flexible muscle that blocks any toxins from leaking out of its pores. It is constantly agitated and hungry. It must consume in order to replenish the decaying cells in its body. It will eat anything. Decaypex can sense the radiation that all life emits, allowing it to catch prey both alive and recently deceased. The more it eats, the longer its core lasts, giving it more power. In battle, it slowly spreads gas throughout the field to incapacitate its foe. The longer one stays around Decaypex, the weaker one becomes. Decaypex is able to control the gas it inhales, so it doesn't release any harmful toxins around those it is fond of. Their inflated belly makes it hard for them to move, but this restriction is compensated by the gas in their stomach making them float. It has the abilities Gluttony, Poison Touch, and the hidden ability Corrosion. Its shiny is more akin to the traditional color scheme of a poison type and even Tasmanian devil. It was tough making a radioactive Pokemon without making it seem like you'd die just being around it, but to be fair, that's the vibe you'd get from a Tasmanian devil anyways. But just like any good Pokemon design, it's both deadly looking but somewhat adorable. Time for the evolved form. From the beginning, I didn't know whether or not I wanted this Pokemon to be standing or floating, or whether or not its mouth should be open or not. Tasmanian tigers are famous for their creepy open mouths, but since they open up so unnaturally wide, it simply looks like a mistake when I give my Pokemon such a wide mouth. I decided to make it float and keep its mouth shut so it doesn't look like it's shouting in pain. I want it to look like it's in peace, almost like it appreciates life more now that it's basically dead. That's why I gave its face this angle and made it look up, like it's more intelligent. I made its mouth super wide so you'd expect it to open up quite a bit when open. I had the idea to make some of its stripes transparent, like part of its body was decomposed in fragments. It also kind of gives the dude a mummy aesthetic, which is appropriate for a ghost type. I gave it some facial features that are more reminiscent of a Tasmanian tiger. I made its gaseous soul visible, and I gave it the inverse color scheme of its unevolved form. Behold, Apextinct, a poison ghost type. It evolves from Decaypex at level 37. When too much of Decaypex has corroded, its gases begin to leak and its core dies off, evolving into Apextinct. Apextinct's body is shredded, with its gaseous soul leaking out. It's able to control its gases and bend it to its will, considering it's intertwined with its soul. It unhinges its mouth to release a beam of radiation. It can unravel its body, extending its length almost infinitely, as long as most of its gas stays within the confines of its body. It can cause anything it touches to decay. This Pokemon is actually quite calm and analytical. It's always pondering philosophical questions and its own mortality. It has the abilities Levitate and Pressure, with the hidden ability Perish Body. I'm not the first person to turn an extinct Pokemon into a ghost type, but the idea of combining it with radiation made for some unique color schemes and powers. The next phobia is autophobia, or the fear of being alone. So do we make a lonely Pokemon or a needy Pokemon that can't be left alone? Since we already have the lonely Pokemon in Cubone, let's make a needy Pokemon that evolves into a Pokemon that becomes alone. I was searching for animals that rely on other animals in a relatively toxic way, and realized we don't have a cuckoo Pokemon. Common cuckoo birds lay their eggs in the nest of other smaller birds, and when these babies hatch, they kick the other eggs out of the nest and mimic the cries of multiple chicks in order to trick the new adoptive mother into overhunting so that they can feed them. These hatchlings become huge, and when they're big enough to live on their own, they continue their deceitful life by looking like predatory birds in order to look stronger than they really are and to intimidate smaller birds, giving them an opening to continue the cycle and lay an egg in another bird's nest. So how about I make this fat baby bird that evolves into a dark flying type that mimics the look of another stronger, more, powerful bird Pokemon. I'm thinking Talonflame. It'll be based on con men and any other deceitful profession. I had the idea from the beginning that this thing was basically gonna look like a mix between a fat baby bird and the nest that it's sitting inside of. Like its abundant feathers form a nest of its own. I gave it a mean face because this chick's personality is not desirable. The whole point is that it's based on ugly and bratty babies that only mothers would love. Gave it chest feathers that look like a bib with a pattern or design that looks like a bow, but it will look like a necklace in its evolved form. I gave it eyelashes to make it look dolled up, almost like its birth mother made it look presentable before placing it in its adoptive mother's nest. Just shifting around the proportions and adding these patterns that look like blush. Again, so it looks like this thing is wearing makeup to look good on the outside, while on the inside it's a bully. A drab color scheme based on real-world cuckoo hatchlings. Now check out Moochic, the imposter Pokemon from Mooch and Chick. Moochic's mother lays its eggs in the nest of more skilled flying types. Newly hatched Moochic is featherless and mimics the calls of other baby bird Pokemon, fooling its adoptive mother into feeding it. Moochic quickly quadruples in size and fills up the nest. It bullies its adoptive siblings and steals their food as well. It overpowers them with its physical strength and size, and until it's ready to evolve and leave the nest, it doesn't move an inch. It has the abilities Gluttony and Big Pecs with the hidden ability Hustle. Its shiny looks like it's dolled up to make itself more cute for its adoptive mother. Another Pokemon that is so ugly it's kinda cute, but also a very grim backstory for a video about fears. Now we'll work on the adult Conckoo. The first few designs weren't perfect. I originally wanted to make it look like a sleazy villain, lanky and off-putting, maybe even dopey and undesirable, but then I realized that this thing is supposed to mimic powerful birds, so it should at least look the part slightly. It should trick you into thinking it's a well-meaning Pokemon, but in reality it lies and cheats. Instead of being very thin, I made it slightly overweight. This will show that it's not really in as good shape as Talonflame, but it'll at least give him higher defense and some physical prowess. I made its neck feathers look like a combo of a popped collar and chest hair with the pattern of a gold chain. You know, the classic unbuttoned look of a trashy con man. I added these stripes that common Cuckoos have to mimic the look of a hawk, but it also resembles Talonflame. You know, that head feather that Talonflame has? Well, this Pokemon has that too, but slicked back, like a businessman's greasy hair. After I tidied it up, I gave it other elements of Talonflame, like the tail feathers and more patterns. The colors are going to be a darker or knockoff version of Talonflame's color. The problem is that it looks too much like a Talonflame now, so I gave it the eye design that its pre-evolved form had, and made it look like thick eyebrows. Meet Conckoo from Con and Cuckoo. From the moment it leaves its nest, it wanders around impersonating more powerful flying types. This disguise allows them to scare away predators and expecting mothers, allowing Conckoo to secretly lay its eggs for their children to be raised by more capable parents. It boasts about its powers, but can't back up its claims as it has no elemental abilities. All of its moves are physical and underhanded. It uses any tactic at its disposal to win. It loves when its deceitful schemes are successful. When its jig is up though, it moves on to new territory. It has the abilities Intimidate and Moxie with the hidden ability Hustle. I originally wanted this Pokemon to look undesirable on the outside, but the lesson is that even though it may look the part a little bit, on the inside this Pokemon always ends up alone because it isn't genuine. Perhaps a good trainer can come along and make it feel whole. If you felt whole watching this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. I hope you'll end up watching the previous episodes too. Check the description for the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early. You can also get rewards by clicking the join button to become a member. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram to see the final artwork of my Pokemon. And if you haven't checked out my finished Ason region project, I encourage you to do so. Bye!